We are live. Welcome to my video. These are going to be my thoughts on The Gifted, Season 2, Episode 7, the episode called No Mercy. Another episode I love. Spoilers for everything live-action X-Men leading up to and including this episode. And the episode, I believe, is rated something like 12 plus, 14 plus. So will this video be? Let's dive right in. So, yeah, I don't think I mentioned in an earlier video, but I was wondering what the deal was with... What's the deal with Reva texting about dinner? You know, I don't know, there's something sinister there, and I don't just mean the fact that both of them are using proper punctuation in text messages. That's just... I'm pretty sure that's illegal. And but yeah, you know, this episode we find out what was going on with that. And I really appreciate the humanizing of Reva. The live-action X-Men franchise, by and large, not always, really, really good at providing at least just enough. Sometimes it's just barely enough of, like, not always, like, humanity to the villains, but there's something there. There's some kind of background. We understand where they're coming from. A lot of them are monsters, but we know why they're doing what they're doing, and I really appreciate that. I do think that's something that some of the MCU is not the best at. You know, yeah, it's not a, you know, ice-cold take here. Yeah, it is an ice-cold take here to say, the MCU has a villain problem, you know, newsflash. And yeah, a lot of the X-Men live action, you know, yeah, they really do much better. Let's see. Yeah, I quite appreciate that you know, I think she referred to her as Benny. Yeah. You know, yeah, I appreciate, you know, yeah, Benny wasn't perfect. You know, she was no saint, as, you know, bootleggers always say when they're protecting, you know, defending the honor of cops who killed someone that obviously, you know, there were so many other options for handling the situation. You know, they don't make her out to be some, you know, I don't think we need more media with perfect victims. I think we need as much media as possible to underline, just because you're not perfect, just because you're not a perfect victim, which, you know, no one in real life is a perfect victim, that doesn't mean you don't deserve justice. And let's see, yeah, you know, you can understand where Benny was coming from, and we're seeing, you know, what was it, 8 years ago, 8 years before the events of the show, this episode at least. Yeah, you know, was it, you know, 7 years and 6 months? Yeah, whatever. 8 years before the episode. Yeah, what was the thing? Yes, Reva was less extreme. You know, she was talking about finding a less aggressive solution. You know, and this is one of the, you know, this was something that radicalized her. So I really appreciate, you know, them underlining that, because it's true. There's a lot of radicals who, you know, before they were radicalized, yeah, they were, you know, maybe looking for a less extreme solution, or this, that, and the other thing. I'm not saying it's always the case, but there's a number of cases where that is the case. And yeah, I really appreciate, you know, it's not letting the purifiers off the hook. That guy specifically, like, you know, he wasn't carrying the pipe at first, but he, you know, he sees a mutant that's, like, confronting him, that's calling him out. You know, she's not even threatening him at that point. She's just saying, stop doing that, you know, in so many words, and he specifically asks for it. Like, I feel if he had already had it in his hand, he might have, like, forgotten and been like, oh no, I didn't mean, no, I wasn't gonna, you know, but no, he specifically asks, hand me the steel pipe, you know. I don't think he's gonna use that as, like, you know, a tool to do some kind of, you know, No, he's going to hit a woman with a steel pipe because she belongs to a minority he dislikes, and she's confronting him, you know. She's defending herself. There's really no two ways about that. An argument could be made that she didn't need to go as far as she did, but, like, steel pipes, pretty effective murder weapon, you know, and he doesn't even know what her power is. For all he knows, she, like, you know, I don't know, makes you know, little pretty fireworks, or, you know, something like, maybe she has like Dazzler's power or something, you know. Actually, I forget. Is Dazzler's power, can that be used for like offense? I gotta admit, I don't know that much about Dazzler other than like her appearance in one of the live action movies. Anyway, she might not actually be able to defend herself, and, you know, it's not like he asked for a duel or something, you know. He was gonna beat her, possibly kill her. You know, I feel like if he was going to beat her but not kill her, he didn't need a steel pipe. You know, he's, you know, yeah, the male upper body strength that conservatives love to bring up whenever they want to say that women are useless for everything other than, like, child rearing and housework. The let's see, what's the other thing? But yeah, you know, she was defending herself, and then, you know, what happens next is what happens in a lot of conflicts. Yeah, you know, there's too many of them, Sid. She couldn't have dealt with both of them. And the fact that specifically Riva saw it, you know, she was pushed to the ground, and she, like, it's, I don't know for sure if her power, because she doesn't use them at all in the scene. I suppose it's possible that she just couldn't control her power that much. Like, she knows she's a mutant, or she wouldn't be there helping. Like, no, at no point does she say, I'm a human. No, she always, you know, their terminology. I'm not the biggest fan of them, you know, using that word, but, you know, yeah, they're using their own terminology on the show. You know, so I can imagine, you know, maybe she, yeah, it might be one of those things, like, she was less radical at the time. Maybe she wasn't comfortable using her power to, you know, to attack. She knows only to use her power for defense. And now I have that stuck in my head. Maybe you do too. If you've heard the full version, I suppose. I forget if it appears in the version that played on the actual show. Anyway, in the intro, yes, the fact that she saw, she didn't hear about it later. She watched a friend of hers be stabbed to death right in front of her, and that's really motivated her ever since, you know. Every single time she is brutal with someone, you know, that's in her mind. She's thinking, if I don't do this, you know, the ends justify the means sort of thing. If I don't do this, you know, yeah, it's good people. I don't know if you want to use the word innocent about Benny. She was a little bit radical, but she was a good person. You know, she didn't say, you know, we're gonna go after all the, you know, hey baby, want to kill all the humans? She said, these ones, we're going to deal with these ones because they're threatening us, you know. So, and there's a lot of cases in real life as well, it's not only fiction, where witnessing someone close to you die motivates you to pursue a cause that they really cared about. Even more so than you, at least at that point in time. Now, let's see, I'm struggling to remember exactly what comes next, so I'm gonna jump. Yeah, we have let's see, the plan is talked over by the inner circle, and, you know, Rebecca, at this point in the episode, we still think, like, by the end of the episode, I'm like, okay, I don't know if she's gonna, if her character is coming back from this. This is a line this is quite the line to cross. But at this point, she's still, she's an insecure teenager, just and this thing of like, what if I get there and I totally suck or something like, and there's the line, so you'll kill them all if they laugh at how terrible I am at this or something like that. He's like, I definitely will, which by the end of the episode is like, I'm not sure she was exaggerating anymore. Like at the time, like, teenagers are known to exaggerate for effect. So yeah, but now I'm not so sure that that's, yeah. Let's see. I really appreciate that, Esme did manage to convince Polaris. I'm struggling. Lorna, that's it. I'm not sure anybody's referred to her as Polaris yet. In the comics, she's Polaris as well. But Lorna, she does really care about Dawn. She wasn't trying to when she went in her mind. She's still not allowed inside Dawn's mind, but she is, she can babysit. Which, like, at that point, I feel like Esme's like, you know what, maybe... No, I think we should be enemies. But and I really appreciate, she still got the scars, and she touches the scars. We know how she got those scars. And, like, yeah, there's... Those scars, great visual storytelling, or visual signifier, I suppose it's not necessarily storytelling, but, yeah, she's having second thoughts. She's not sure if what they're doing is right. Marco certainly didn't seem to think so, and, like, is he wrong? That's the thing. Whenever you're confronted with an alternate point of view on something, because they agree on what is happening, but they disagree on whether or not it's right. You find yourself, some people reject it out of hand. I try to be open to it. Not all heroes wear capes. No, I think it is good to be open to it, so I try to be. I am not always successful. But, yeah, when you're presented with an alternate point of view on a thing where you both agree on the facts, you might consider, am I right about this? Especially if they're really determined that you're wrong. Marcos doesn't go around hurting people willy-nilly. The fact that he was willing to hurt, Esme, yeah, that means he was really passionate about it. And it's not like he was, like, trying to kill, some innocent person. He was trying to get, the woman he loves back, his baby, his babies, I suppose, so yeah. And let's see. I think that gets us to the table. I quite appreciated the camera. Is it spinning? It's turning, at least. Turning fast around the table as they discuss what to do with Reed. And yeah, it is legitimately a thing of, like, how do you best resolve this situation? Because, yeah, he can't stay there. We've seen all the damage that he's unwittingly done to the room. He crashed the car with Lauren inside. It's something has to be done, and they're struggling to think of something right then and there. They don't have anything to fix the problem right then and there. John tried with what he knows, the like psychological, the mind-based version, wasn't enough. So, what do you do then with the destroying Reed? And, yeah, this thing of, like, everything he touches, he destroys. Sadly, that is a very, that is something that I understand as an ally to be something that members of the LGBTQ plus community can really, it resonates with a lot of them, feeling like everything they touch, they destroy because of all the bigotry against them. We know, based on, just, looking at the numbers, looking at the facts, when they are accepted, they feel much, much better. Which, maybe I bring this up too much, but I think it bears repeating. There's a lot of conservatives that's not true for. Conservatives can be surrounded by other conservatives. They can watch media that reaffirms their worldview all day, every day, and they still won't be happy because hatred doesn't make you happy. Bigotry brain rot might have you think that it does, but it actually doesn't. And I would argue that, the real, everything it touches it destroys, that actually describes modern conservatism quite well. And I appreciate some people might think, oh, you're a hypocrite. You just said, LGBTQ plus people shouldn't feel like that, but now you're saying conservatism. LGBTQ plus identity is something that you shouldn't have to deny and can't change. I know some people say, oh, you can't change. You certainly shouldn't have to. Conservatism, I am open to the idea of conservatism just if they pull it much further to the left. Like, just keep in mind, by today's standards, the Republican Party would technically consider, like, if you mentioned certain of Reagan's policies, and you didn't say Reagan did this, but you told a Republican, the Democrats want to do this, this, and this, they'd be like, those socialists. And then you could point out, no, that's actually what Reagan did. Are you calling Reagan a socialist? Reagan being, some of them worship him more than Jesus, even though they probably wouldn't admit that. I don't think you need to worship Jesus, but if you call yourself a Christian, maybe place Jesus above any, human being. Now, yeah, and I like the detail that, they use, like, steel as a buffer, so, he doesn't burn through that, and with his powers that really make me think of Rogue, so that's quite nice. And I appreciate, I know she's not the only one. If you touch, skin contact hurts people, and she technically doesn't destroy, like, physical materials. I'm pretty sure there's a more direct analog, but that is who I'm most reminded of, and she was, very important character in some of the live action movies, so I think that's a source of inspiration here. Now, let's see, that brings us to the, they get him all the way to the, the place, which, there's that point about, should we really take him to somewhere that the purifiers hit? And it's like, well, are the purifiers going to go back? They wouldn't think that there's anything, it's one of those things, you can see both sides, which, it makes a lot of sense that they wouldn't hit it again, but also it makes sense, I mean, they know where it is, they know that it's friendly to mutants, but they make, like, a bed of metal, which I feel like CinemaSins would probably ding and say that looks really uncomfortable, much like he did for the Wolverine for the medical bed, apparently missing the clear, I would argue, element that's part of the point. Like, the guy's in pain. That's, wow. Really glad I stopped watching CinemaSins. It was just got to be a source of frustration. Just like, practically yelling at the screen like you might at a horror movie character making bad decisions. A lot of great stuff when as the camera's moving turning all the way around the people at the table. Great lines, great points made and such, and good use of the camera turning all the way around. It's, at some point I'm going to do a video on the Species quadrilogy. I can imagine it'll be in October of some year. One per week or something like that. But the second one of those has a non-zero number of occasions where the camera turns all the way around, and it's like the director thought that would be cool. Like he says that he says that on the commentary track, not realizing that the scene really it does not work for that scene at all. And in both cases, it's a scene of people talking more than anything really happening. Right, as they're loading up the ambulance, Clarice says, "I don't know why I'm always the one to ask the awkward question. Ooh, I know, because you're one of the best characters on the show, and that's part of why." And, yeah, at the table, she's like, "Morlocks?" That's like her go-to, at this point. Like, just, I'm so thirsty. I'm really exhausted. I gotta stay here on the couch. Could you get me a glass of water? I'll have the Morlocks get it. And, when during that scene, I was thinking, someone's going to bring that up. Someone's going to point out, like, wow, if you like the Morlocks so much, why don't you have a mass wedding with them? And yeah, once John leaves, Marcos does talk to her about it. And, yeah, let's see. And she points out, what was it? You're the one who went off with the old gang, which, yeah, she was upset about that in season 1 as well. 6 months, not enough time to completely forgive that, and you're going to see why. And, the thing about you're the one with the baby mama with the inner circle. And we have the I really appreciate that there's like a pause there. She has a chance to say, "I'm sorry, I went too far. Just, please don't push about the Morlocks." But she doesn't. That I quite appreciate that. Like, she's standing by what she said. It might have been said in anger, but she's not, by the end of this episode, she hasn't apologized. She might not. And I'm not necessarily saying she has to. Like, he is also being kind of harsh with her. But just, I really appreciate this conflict. Like, it's enough to like get us really invested in how this plays out, but it's not so much that we're like, okay, like one of them is gonna leave the mutant underground on the spot, right? Because that's like, there's no way they can work together after saying things like that. So, it doesn't go quite that far. Like, hypothetically, imagine if Clarice had said, "I hope Lorna dies," or something like that, Or like if Marcos said, if you ever go back to the Morlocks, you better stay there, because if I see you again, I'm gonna take you out, or something like that, And yeah, I like the game of telephone. Marcos goes to John to tell him, hey, talk to her, and then he does talk to her. Yeah, technically not a game of telephone, but I do just appreciate, like, they could have just had the conversation. Anyway. No, I'm not. It's not criticism. It's just, it amuses me. And yeah, good talk between them, and I really appreciate she actually completely comes clean. At first, I didn't. I thought she was just gonna tell him about the food theft, but she actually, yeah, the and be like, all this for a loaf of bread. But she actually tells him about the spying as well. And I appreciate that he's not like, "You know what, I trust you and I forgive you." He's like, "I can't believe that you would betray my trust like that." And she points out the Morlocks are doing more good for mutants right now than we are. Which, like, is debatable, I suppose, but certainly an argument could be made, It's one of those. No, I suppose, yeah. You know what? They are protecting mutants that the underground couldn't protect right now. So there's at least partial truth. Partial credit. Pepsi, and the let's see. Yeah, it's one of those things of, like, extreme conditions sometimes breed extreme methods. And they don't say it, but I feel like Clarice, she doesn't think John understands because he can pass. She can't. You know, she can, but it's like she shouldn't have to. It's like, you know, there are, I've heard of, like, you know, let's see, I suppose perhaps the most, I don't know if code switching, you know, when BIPOC individuals, you know, speak in a way that is considered, you know, more acceptable by members of the majority. I don't know if that is, or maybe a trans person really toning down, not really expressing their gender in the way they feel most comfortable, you know, something like that. But yeah, you know, again, shouldn't have to, should just be accepted. And the following is not a judgment on any minority. I have heard of, and again, as I've said before, this is something that these minority groups actually do call out themselves. They don't need us, you know, white cishet males to do it. But there are minorities who, if born a certain way, that can't or shouldn't have to change. You know, if they're BIPOC, if they're, you know, women, they might feel frustrated with LGBTQ plus people saying, you know, you could just not do that. You know, you don't have to express your gender the way you feel comfortable with. You don't have to, you know, engage in the kind of behavior that, you know, the conservatives say is wrong, whereas I can't change. So if, you know, when you're fighting for your civil rights, they might lump me in with you and not give me my civil rights, you know, that kind of thing. That's basically what's going on in that scene. So I really appreciate them going there with that. But yeah, right, to finish my point about, you know, extreme methods, I don't know if I bring up the French Revolution too much, but I do think it is something we can learn a lot from. Based on what we know, I would definitely say it was necessary to do something about the French king, French royalty at that time. And I don't think that it would have been, like, you can understand why they resorted to, the revolutionaries resorted to violence, because the king, the royalty did not really listen to the common man, you know, at that time, and sadly many times throughout, you know, kingdoms and such throughout history, all over the world. But ultimately the revolution went way too far. You know, they were executing people that it's just, I don't even want to really get into it. If you don't know, you can look it up, but just, you know, it's not pretty. And yeah, I feel like that's what's going on with the Morlocks. You know, they are, like, it seems like they're willing to go extremely far. I suppose we haven't seen that much yet, but yeah, I feel like they're willing to go, you know, they were offered, like, I mean, what about the Mutant Underground? And he says they don't go too far enough, you know, so yeah, that's just, and yeah, you know, Clarice, we've seen some of the abuse she's faced. She's been abused her entire life because of her appearance. She can't pass, as it is, you know, as the saying goes, you know. Yeah, I feel like she's a really, really great metaphor for trans people, because, you know, you do sometimes see people saying, oh, you know, just don't express your gender, just don't be yourself, don't live your truth. Like, it's absurd. Like, I hate when I see people say that who then go on to defend people who express hatred, who engage in violence as anything other than a last resort. You know, you clearly don't actually mean that, oh, you know, if you want to, you know, maybe people should just not be who they are. No, you just don't want trans people to be who they are because they make you uncomfortable, and that's something for you to work on, not for them. Trans people should not have to bend over backwards to satisfy transphobes. But yeah, when she looks the way she naturally does, people can clock her. It is possible for her to hide, but it's uncomfortable. She even says, I can't see, what was it, energy fields anymore. She's cutting off part of herself, not cutting off a body part, but like she's not being herself, and that is, I understand. I'm not trans myself. And I don't say that as some like, oh, I wouldn't. If I were trans, that wouldn't bother me. I just say it so you know that I'm not trying to speak over trans people. I'm basing what I say on what I've heard trans people say. Let's see, what was basically, I don't want someone to watch one of my videos, think that I'm trans, and go out and say, oh, check out this trans creator. I wouldn't want to mislead people like that. Now, let's see. If you would like a list of trans creators that I personally think are well worth supporting here on YouTube, there's a link in the description box to a Google Doc that has, among others, LGBTQ plus YouTubers that I admire greatly and have learned a lot from. Now, well, let's see. Yeah, I think I've said everything about that part. Right, I appreciate... I feel like she's, at this point, still going by Clarice, so that's what I'll... yeah, when Clarice goes in and, she... like, sorry. Didn't mean to break up a family moment. We gotta get out of here, Because, like, yeah, she appreciates, it's... Yeah, she doesn't want to mess that up, She was harsh with Marcos, but she's not, like... Yeah, because he was confronting her. She really does want to help the Struckers. And, right, I really appreciate how much the Struckers have grown since, like, they've been here since the start. This is, what, 30 episodes of show or something. They're so different from where they started in the pilot episode, and it feels earned, at least to me. It doesn't feel like they just changed who they are on in a really unearned way. Yeah. Couldn't think of the thesaurus. My internal thesaurus is offline right now, I think. Yes, so has been from the start of this video, I feel like. Anyway, yes, we are... Let's see... Yeah, when Reed picks up the picture and is like, oh, maybe I can control it, and then he accidentally melts, like, for like a second or two there, it was like, please tell me he didn't destroy the picture, and thank goodness, it was the frame. The frame can be replaced, the picture can't, because for one thing, you'll never capture that exact moment again, and for another, they don't know if they can get Andy back. That might be the last picture they'll ever have of him with the family, maybe of him alive. The inner circle are really taking chances, so it would just be yeah. So I appreciate the show for toying with my emotions only a little bit there. It wasn't very many seconds before we realized, and it was still intact. They didn't destroy it. That would have felt just, yeah. Now, let's see. Then we have the, I think that brings us... Yeah, I really appreciate the date. And we do see Riva, like... It does pain her that she has to do this. She does actually care about him, clearly. And yeah, I really like. I feel like this episode they wanted to really humanize Reva in a way that we really haven't seen before this episode. So really appreciate that. And let's see. Yeah, the line "I'm not a monster unless I have to be" is great. And yeah, right. I don't think I've mentioned. Appreciate that the name of the bank, the name on the bank is Creed. I'm gonna go ahead and guess that it's not Sabretooth Creed, but I want to say his father is, anti-mutant, and I think he knows his son is a mutant and hates that fact, something like that. So yeah, I don't know if Creed Sr. has a bank in the comics. I'm not entirely sure, but I can 100% believe that he would have an anti-mutant bank. And it is absolutely true that there are institutions like banks that have, in real life, mutants don't exist, but other minority groups have been targeted by banks. Let's see. And yeah, the heist itself, gotta say that, yeah, one of the best I've seen since Clive Owen told me therein lies the rub. And yeah, I really appreciate, like, when they showed us the bank from afar and there's the two guards with assault rifles, like, at that time you're thinking, this is, you're sure you want to do this, this is going to be dangerous, and then when we see them just walk up and the Frost's, mind control and the whole, like, yeah, it looks like, in addition to looking absolutely badass, it also is this thing of like, yeah, I mean, that would work. And suddenly we feel like, holy crap, they might actually be able to pull this off. Very, very nicely done. Just the way that these scenes play out in the music, the camera work, the editing really sells this whole thing. Now, the entire heist, so many great moments. I really appreciate, Reva says, if you do this to the VP, if you do this, you will be safe, your family will be safe. She is willing to threaten his family, but she does, she was going to set him free. Rebecca kind of messed that one up. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, they go in I thought they were gonna have the two armed guards, which you shouldn't ask about if you want to listen to the Grunkalunks, I want to say they're called. I thought they were gonna, the Frosts were gonna have them, point their guns at, but I see how that could actually backfire. So yeah, instead, the other guards fire their handguns. Polaris stops the bullets, which we saw her do in the training, and let's see, and takes the guns, and she destroys the computers. Also very clever, very strategic, very demure, very mindful. Sorry, should I not be saying that? Is that purely for, I'm not sure I've seen very many male YouTubers. Now, I feel like I've seen at least one or two. I realize that one is, like, specifically a female, and I think also LGBTQ+. Yeah, I gotta get better at, I mean, no disrespect, I swear. I'm not trying to, like, appropriate. I think it's a fun meme. I like referencing stuff. Sometimes I don't think about. Anyway, moving on. Yes, let's see. They shoot another hostage video. I think I did already mention an earlier video on this season. It is somewhat giving, like, ISIS, which, again, like, they're, a group that definitely went too far. And, you know, yeah, I'm not making any excuses for their methods. Not in the slightest. Let's see. Certainly they believe that they're, you know, fighting for a just cause. So, yeah. Let's see. I suppose that is a decent time to talk about. So yeah, you know, they managed to get him to do. He even resists. He starts to, you know, we haven't seen very many people resist. Like Marcos was also able to resist, but it takes significant willpower, you know. Let's see, right, and earlier in the episode, you know, Kate was like, "It's not your fault." Okay, Goodwill Hunting, or I suppose the therapist from R.I.P. Robin Williams. Did anybody else ever think that that title was like, you know, someone hunting for goodwill? Because like, there's some great places where you can get that. Anyway, yeah, you know, he doesn't they do manage to get the guy to confess, and you know the video plays really well, but afterwards he does that thing that sometimes bigots do where they really overplay their hand. You know, we did see some consequences, some consequences after Charlottesville, for example, where he says some really, really aggressive things. And Rebecca says, "Are we really just going to let that go?" And the others have, you know, they basically think, you know, she's under control. She's not, you know, but so they, you know, they turn their back on her, which, you know, you want to be careful with. You know, someone might set fire to a predator over that. And you know, they said, you know, we're leaving, or yeah, there's some exchange. You know, they one of them says something and she says something, and then she goes up, she starts using her powers, and you know, before anyone can stop her, she killed everyone in that room, including the VP that helped them, which, you know, is part of what Riva is upset about, you know. And, you know, yeah, she turns around, big, you know, cheery smile on her face, which, like, it's been creepy before, but this is definitely the creepiest it's been, you know, so that, like, holy crap. And, you know, you know, yeah, the others are, like, horrified, and she's like, "What? I got away with it." Nobody gets away with what you just did. I miss playing that game. Anyway, despite the ridiculous recoil of that and other early IO Interactive games. No, I'm not over that. Even though they fixed it like 10 years ago or more. Anyway, let's see. Wait, 20 years ago? Holy crap, it's been a while. But those early ones, ugh, annoying. Yeah, I feel like it's been almost 20 years. Like, Blood Money, I think, had fixed it, so... No, wait, no. Actually, come to think of it, maybe it was a little later that they fixed it. Anyway, yes. Yeah, because Kane and Lynch is from 2007. Whatever. Moving on. Right, I also like earlier when, yeah, you know, Rebecca said, "Are we really just going to leave them in there? They're human." And, you know, there's that line, "My mother is human. So was mine." Yikes. That is, yeah. I mean, she literally did just say, "I don't know, we could take out your mom, I guess." I don't know why you're bringing that up right now. There's a time and place. Not at my birthday party. Birthday dinner, whatever. Yes, and yeah, you know, she does struggle at first with the Volt. Quite appreciate that it's adamantium. Because, like, that's not the only thing that's adamantium in the live-action X-Men. You know, I realize this is technically not quite, like, I'm not sure this is completely supposed to take place in the same universe or timeline as the movie. Certainly, it's, you know, that timeline is quite a mess. I still need to watch. I saw Lindsay Ellis put up like a 90-minute video talking about the timeline. I'm really looking forward to watching it. So glad I got Nebula and that she's on there. I never thought, like, I'm not saying everything that she did was wrong. Personally, I thought her video where she explained all the things that she was getting canceled for, I thought that, yeah, I'm not a member of all the groups that she hurt, so I'm not saying everybody should forgive her, but I think it felt to me like she really was trying to take accountability. I didn't think she deserved to be bullied off YouTube. I'm really glad she's on Nebula now. Yeah, that brings... Right. Yeah, at first, Rebecca does struggle with it. And, you know, like, Andy's like, I really don't want to have to kill Lorna. She's so nice to me. But, you know, he points out to Rebecca, just focus on the pain from, you know, when you were, you know, in the hospital. Just, you know, aim and think about a person that has hurt you, you know. And yeah, we know from other, you know, that is the thing in X-Men, various media. Focusing on intense emotion can help you increase the power of your power. See, yeah, the thesaurus just 100%. I'm going to try to reboot it after recording this. Yes, so... However, the thing is, once you're in a really negative state of mind, it can take a little while for you to calm back down. And, like, the moment that I saw that he got hurt, like, I was thinking, this is not going to end well for the non-mutants in the building. Because she just said that she wanted to hurt them. And now you're bringing up how she was hurt by non-mutants. Yeah, you know, and I appreciate that the show didn't... Like, it would have been annoying if that had happened at the very start of the episode, and then we had to wait for the rest of the episode, you know, to get the payoff. But no, it can have been very many minutes. I'm not sure exactly how many, but yeah, because it's, like, yeah, that's where they're going. That's definitely, you know, it's built up to that. Like, when she saw cops, she turned their car inside out. Obviously, when she gets, like, reminded of all the pain that non-mutants have caused her, and a non-mutant says these really intense things, yeah, that's what's gonna happen. Now, that might be... Do I say now too much? I've heard some people say, right, type in comments that I say now too much. And now I did it again. Now. Yes. I think, wow, does that cover... I feel like there's at least one more thing. But what could be left? Good to see Sage again. We haven't seen her a huge amount since she joined the Inner Circle, but she's hacking to yeah, from home base. I like the bit with, you know, good news, and she lists off the good news about the mission, and then says, and I got the baby to sleep. You did it! You calmed it down! And you also have the thing about, you know, she's trying to get the baby to sleep, and it's like, Dawn, she's not falling asleep. Or Dawn's fussy. She says something like that, Esme does. And then Sage is like, I'm in. And Esme's like, shh. And now, at first glance, that might seem like she's talking about, you know, I'm trying to get the baby to calm back down. But really, she just does not want Dawn picking up bad Hollywood cliche lines. You know, like, she'd rather you swear in front of the baby, really. Now, I think that might actually cover... Oh, right. The thing about, change of plan. I think that's a little too late. And I really do appreciate, like, I seriously respect Reva actually agreed. Like, because she, at first, I thought, does she just not know? Did Lorna, like, fib or something, but no, she's clearly, as she's walking away, she sees Lorna hand the baby to Esme, and Esme stay behind, so she, they talked about it off screen, which is, great economical, we don't need to see the conversation, we just need to see, oh, she agreed. We can deduce there was a conversation. And, yeah, I mean, she cares more about Lorna than she does about Dawn, but yeah, like, I seriously respect that. And I definitely think the fact that Dawn and Esme are now bonding is going to, like, I don't know if it's gonna be all three, Esme, Lorna, and Andy, and I. That's a pretty decent YouTube channel. Better than mine. I don't know why I'm being so. Yeah, they're really good. You should subscribe. But let's see, see, that's the trouble with this thing of like dropping in references all of a sudden. I end up forgetting where I was going, but then that happens regardless because of the unmedicated ADHD. Tried medication once, made it worse. Not doing that again. Let's see, right, yeah. I don't know if all three of them are going to defect, but I feel like Esme at this point probably is, and I could imagine Lorna might also, since they both care about Dawn. I'm not entirely sure about Andy yet. Right, it was legitimately sweet and cute when after Andy supports Rebecca, lifting her spirits. In the, I mean, it's not technically the danger room, but there's a similar, it's danger room-ish, adjacent. Yeah, he lifts her spirits, and they, let's see, did they actually complete the kiss that time, or did they stop just short of it? Because, again, they're, like, people are nearby and can see them. They're maybe not crazy about kissing in front of others. Yeah, anyway, like with the elevator, and I want to say the episode before this one, or at least an earlier episode this season, and that might actually be everything. Now I remember the whole Jace thing. So yeah, Jace goes to meet, I forget his name. Okay, I'm just gonna real quick see if I can. Benedict Ryan. That is a wonderful name. Yeah. The Fox News alike. They've done a really great job, both on this show and also Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., with like a Fox News adjacent, yeah. And I suppose I should probably keep it vague. Or say allegedly. Okay, so everything I say about Fox is alleged. But yeah, there are some, Fox News alleged journalists who, are not entirely unchummy with white supremacists. That is something that we have seen. And he also talks about, in some ways, actually, no, not in some, he said, I'm more powerful than politicians in this country. And that is very true. There's a lot, yeah, doesn't go for absolutely every, conservative alleged journalist, but there are some where some people listen more to them than presidents. And, he says, I have a direct line to the president, which, again, some Fox News alleged journalists, a non-zero number of them, I forget if it's more than one. And, yeah, at first, like, Jace is like, I'm not comfortable with this. And, I do appreciate that the other guy, the guy who recruited him for the purifiers, Jace says, so what happens if I, what did he say? If I reveal something about something like that, an ice pick to the back of the head, and the guy who recruited him is like, there are things worse than ice picks. I mean, ask an ice cube, but also, yeah, a one-on-one conversation with a Fox News-y alleged journalist. Yeah, I think that might be worse. So fair warning, he was warned. And yeah, ultimately Jace does go along with it. He is moving further away from his old life and gradually, more and more into, he's technically betraying his old colleagues. So yeah, he is changing, and I do appreciate that every so often he does make he does a pause with the cause and think, is this who I want to be? Is this who I am now? I'm not saying that he could get his wife back at this point, but he is like dodging, like the lawyer on the other side insists, no, you're not going to talk to your soon-to-be ex-wife. And yeah, that is also something. I've never gone through a divorce myself, and I have a lot of sympathy for people who do. There are some cases where it's like, okay, thank goodness they got divorced, but there are cases where it just causes a lot of hurt. I'm not saying those people shouldn't necessarily get divorced. Sometimes it is the lesser of two evils, but I do really empathize. I know people personally who've gone through divorce and were hurt by it. Let's see, but the lawyer saying you shouldn't talk to your soon-to-be ex-wife. Yeah, that is sometimes the case. And yeah, he hangs up as the lawyer saying, you really should not, what was it, like, postpone or ignore this part of the process, because, yeah, he's even just like out of respect and whatever love is left for his soon-to-be ex-wife, yeah, he really should finish this process properly, especially now that he's doing like dangerous things, if absolutely nothing else, for closure, for her. Right. I also appreciate that one of the ways that he got talking, as the recruiter is trying to talk Jace into it, he says, what about your wife? What about your kid? And Jace is like, you keep my wife's name out your hating mouth. I know that is a dated reference. Part of me feels like I think Chris Rock, when he released his show, was still entitled to, because that's the kind of thing that you're allowed to bring up a while after. And he apparently, I've heard, made the show in part about that whole thing. So yeah, bring it up, But I feel like if, Deadpool and Wolverine can bring up that reference, what was that, like 6 months ago or something, I feel like I'm allowed to also bring it up. Does that make it sound like I didn't love Deadpool and Wolverine? I did. I did a video talking about how much I love it. I would not want you to leave this video thinking that I do not love that movie, because I do. Now, I think that might be... Oh, right, yeah. There at the end, yeah, he, the guy walks up and he does apologize, but he's like, Ryan, you gotta see this. This is, this is massive. And, he hands him this clipboard, I would say it is, something like that, and there's like paper and like, the audience doesn't see exactly what's on there, but, we watch the rest of the episode, which I don't know why Jace doesn't. I don't know, I guess he's a little too busy these days to do that. But yeah, we can probably deduce what happened. Though I do like to, I'd love for there to be like an outtake where, like, after it's handed to Jace, he's like, I've never seen such a gorgeous doodle of a shrimp. I mean, that is national news, if not international. Yeah, I think that might. Oh, right, yeah. I forget. Was it? I think it might have been Clarice who pointed out. People are losing. Or wait, was it John? John said. He called. Was it every place within radius of this place to ask if they could help, and they said people are losing faith in the underground. They're all about mutant uprising. Which again, like people who supported the French Revolution. Now, oh right, Madeline makes a ton of sense, and yeah, now with the 6 months time jump, I am not sure how much she would have wanted, but I'm not sure how much she would have been able, willing but maybe not able to help 6 months prior. But they point out, what was it, like she heads a research wing now or something like that. Yeah, I think she might be able to help, and I'm hoping that they're not gonna do like a conversion therapy actually works kind of BS thing. Right, according to IMDb trivia, let's see, it was, yeah. Stanley died 2 days prior to this episode's airing, which is why the picture on the, for the IMDb entry for this episode, often it's like a still from the episode, but here it is a still photo of, looks like the entire season 1 main cast and Stan Lee. And yeah, they look really happy to be, working on something that he created. And yeah. Yeah, I'm really glad he got to, I'm still sad he's dead, even though it's been 6 years. But I'm really glad he lived long enough to see so many of the characters that he was so passionate about. Not always creating. Sometimes he, not going to relitigate that, but I'm not going to pretend like he didn't, yeah. Seriously, something does need to be done. People should own the characters they create. But he didn't always create them, but he did some really fantastic, writing for these characters. And yeah, I'm really glad he got to see so many of them be given such, compelling and sometimes very faithful movies. Certainly usually interesting movies, interesting changes sometimes made. And, he got to appear in a bunch of them, which, he was evidently very, very happy to do. Apparently he's never, I don't think he ever turned down whenever he was asked to do a cameo. Like, the one thing I've heard is like, is it called Mallrats? I haven't watched. I have watched some of Kevin Smith's movies. I realize he's problematic, but Stan Lee did appear in one of those, and he did ask if they could change this one little thing, and Kevin Smith, to his credit, did actually, like, I will say, if I was working with Stan Lee and he like made a request, I would probably also be like, yeah, you got it. But like, yeah, writer directors and their visions, it can be difficult to let go. But yeah, the thing that he wanted changed. I'm not gonna get into the exact details, but the reason that Stan Lee wanted something changed, from one of the only, I'm not sure I've heard of any other time where he actually asked for a change to be made to, to his part in any one of these, a cameo that he did. But the reason he did it, the reason he asked for it changed, and was grateful for it changed, was because he was worried that the way it was written before would hurt his wife's feelings. And that is just So sweet. Just, yeah. Not saying he was perfect, but in a lot of ways, Stan Lee was just a really wonderful person who cared about progressive causes. And, yeah, it's like, I don't know exactly what he said about this show, but certainly, having read some of his X-Men comics, yeah, this is very much in the spirit of some of his work. In some ways, also some of the work done by later, other X-Men artists and writers. But yeah, just yeah, I this show would not exist without him, and the world. He made the world a better place in the ways that he could.